Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Government House, Yarralumla. Dawa Nuna, Dawa Ngunnawal. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Ngunnawal people, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present, emerging leaders, and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders gathered here today. My name is Jeff Barnes, and I'm the Deputy Official Secretary to the Governor-General. I'm also the Deputy Secretary of the Order of Australia, whose Council recommends appointments and awards in the Order's General Division to the Governor-General, who is Chancellor of the Order of Australia and Principal Companion of the Order. I'm also the Deputy Secretary to the Australian Bravery Decorations Council, the body which makes recommendations to the Governor-General for Bravery Awards. Before we start the ceremony, I would like to acknowledge our distinguished guests here today. Rear Admiral Jonathan Early, representing the Chief of Navy, Major General Stephen Jobson, representing the Chief of Army, Dr. Shubho Banerjee, representing the Commissioner of the Australian Public Service, and Ms. Lynn Duckham, representing the National President of the Order of Australia Association. The Australian Honours and Awards system provides a wonderful mechanism through which we as a nation can recognise and celebrate ordinary people who do extraordinary things. Since its inception in 1975, almost 400,000 people have been recognised for their meritorious bravery, military or national service. The Order of Australia is a principal means of recognising outstanding service, and it is important to note that nominations come from all areas of the community. Anyone can nominate. Today is a special day, not only for recipients, but also for their families, friends, and communities. It is a day when we celebrate a diverse range of impressive achievements and service. My Government House colleagues and I are privileged to play a small part in recognition and celebration of that achievement. I hope we can help make today an occasion that you will all recall with pride for a long time to come. Shortly, I will invite you to stand as Their Excellencies, the Governor-General and Mrs. Hurley enter the room. Please remain standing and join in the singing of the first verse of the Australian National Anthem. The investiture will then begin and proceed in the order listed in your programs. After I read their names and citations, the recipients will enter the room from the doorway on the right, and after they've been invested, will leave by the centre aisle to take their seats at the back of the room. And it's at this point that you may like to show your appreciation with a short applause. At the conclusion of the ceremony, the Governor-General will say a few words, and once formalities are complete, I'll invite recipients to join Their Excellencies for an official photograph at the state entrance. To assist recipients in making their way to the state entrance, could I please ask that guests remain in the room for a brief period before proceeding to the dining room for refreshments. Their Excellencies and the recipients will then join you after the photographs have been taken. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, please relax and enjoy this very special occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand if you're able for the arrival of Their Excellencies, the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia and Mrs. Linda Hurley, and the singing of the Australian National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated.
Good afternoon all, and a very warm welcome to Government House at Yarralumla. Linda and I and the staff here are delighted to welcome you on such a very special occasion in the life of our recipients, their family and friends, and of course our nation, as we honour and recognise people's contribution to our country. Could I begin by also acknowledging the Ngunnawal people? We're a Ngunnawal country here at Yarralumla. Thank them for looking after this beautiful part of our country for generation after generation. Pay respect to their elders, past and present, and be particularly mindful of our responsibility to the youngsters these days who are critical to the future of our country. Our honours and awards system was introduced in 1975 to replace the Imperial Award system. It's a system that reaches out across the breadth and depth of Australia to acknowledge people's contributions in so many fields of endeavours, from the high arts, sciences, law, public service, service to community, sport. There's I would say very few areas of Australian life that are not touched by these awards. Therefore, they represent what is the best of Australia. People who go beyond themselves, particularly the community awards. I will say to nearly every community recipient as they come through the door and I invest them with their medal, thank you for having a big heart for your community, because that's what you represent. So today we're going to see that. We're going to see the breadth of achievement, the diversity that our awards recognise. There is a unique feature, I think, to our honours and awards system, and it's what I term a bottom-up system. Ours is not a system where elites in Canberra, Sydney or any other capital city reach down and say, someone is doing a great job, we shall give them a medal. Everyone in the general division who walks through that door to receive acknowledgement from their country has been nominated by one of their peers. That's the only way to curse. So I want you to bear that in mind as we go through the investiture or proceed with the investiture ceremony today, because after the investiture ceremony, I'm going to give you some homework. Particularly young people don't expect to get homework when they come to Government House, but you're in the gun today. But please bear in mind what you see. Importantly, we have made good strides, I think, in recent years to increase representation of women in the order. Slightly distorted here in Canberra in our investitures because we do have a heavy representation from the military division, and we don't necessarily get the breadth of community you'll see in the other state capital cities when they have their investiture ceremonies. But we are doing well, I believe now, in recognising women appropriately. We are still doing well enough in our Indigenous communities and with our multicultural communities in Australia. We again are doing work to try to address that, but I'll come back to this in your homework about what we have to do. As we go through the ceremony today, can I say to the recipients at the back of the room and those lining up in the corridor right now, again, every person who comes through the door will tell me they don't deserve the medal. Oh, I don't do it for medals, I just do it because it's the right thing to do for my community and so on. Well, to the recipients, that's a lovely touch of humility. Delighted to see it, but forget about it today. Today is a chance for you to boast, not to be bragging, but to be boastful and to accept the fact that your country is recognising your contribution. So thank you all for that. To family members here, can I say to you in particular, thank you for the support you provided for each of our recipients. I know this cannot be done by yourself, on your own. It needs support of family and friends. So this day is very much for you as it is for them. And indeed, I'll say to some of them later on, you got your bling today, best take someone shopping to balance the account. So thank you all for your contribution, and we do really honour you as well today. We'll now proceed with the formalities. We've explained when we'll applause and so on for each of the recipients. But please, relax, enjoy the occasion. Yes, there's pomp and circumstance, as there should be, around an occasion such as this, but this is a day of celebration. So let us begin the celebration, and I'll now commence the formal investiture ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, to be presented with the insignia of her appointment as an officer of the Order in the General Division, Ms. Glenys Beecham. For distinguished service to public administration, particularly innovative health reform, industry and science policy and program delivery. Ms. Beecham has had a long and distinguished career in the Australian Public Service, including almost 10 years as Secretary of a number of Commonwealth departments. Between 2013 and 2020, and amidst frequent machinery of government changes, she demonstrated outstanding leadership of departments responsible for a range of portfolios, including regional affairs, arts, sport, industry and health. Whilst at the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet, she was responsible for issues of national importance, including the government's response to the 2009 Victorian bushfires. In 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, she came out of retirement to lead the government's task force to ensure the nation had sufficient supplies of critical medical and health equipment to respond to the crisis. Ms. Beecham has been a champion of good governance in public administration and a role model for women, and her achievements are most noteworthy. Ms. Glenys Beecham, appointed an Officer of the Order. Appointed an Officer of the Order in the Military Division, Rear Admiral Peter Quinn, for distinguished service to the Royal Australian Navy and the Australian Department of Defence. Rear Admiral Quinn has served across a range of demanding command and senior leadership appointments with Navy throughout his military career. During his tenure as Director General Navy Capability Transition and Sustainment, he was responsible for transitioning new equipment into service, most notably the landing helicopter dock amphibious ships, guided missile destroyers, and Seahawk Romeo combat helicopters. As Head, Joint Capability Management and Integration, he was the key architect and led the reform of the capability lifecycle methodology as part of the First Principles Review. Later, as Head of Navy Capability, he successfully led 55 decisions for government consideration, representing almost $63 billion investment in the structure and preparedness of our naval force. Rear Admiral Quinn's contributions to capability development have best placed the Royal Australian Navy and the Department of Defence to meet the challenges of the future. Rear Admiral Peter Quinn, appointed an Officer of the Order. Appointed a Member of the Order in the General Division, Dr. John Angus, for significant service to the agricultural sector through research roles and to education. Dr. Angus has been one of the most influential agricultural scientists of his generation. His field of expertise is broadacre farming, and his work on crop and soil health has led to improvements in sustainable farming systems through the development of agronomic solutions. A key feature of his approach to research has been a close collaborative partnership with farmers and a commitment to communication of the outcomes of his work to industry, stakeholders, and his peers. He has brought highest scientific rigour to his research and has published over 200 papers, reports, and articles in leading scientific journals. He has also served with distinction as an active member of national and international professional societies. Dr. Angus's career can only be described as outstanding, and Australian agriculture is stronger because of his skills and tireless efforts. Dr. John Angus, appointed a member of the Order. Appointed a member of the Order in the Military Division, Brigadier Khalil Fegan. For exceptional service in the Australian Army as Chief of Staff, Army Headquarters and Commander 3rd Brigade. Brigadier Fegan's leadership and strategic foresight has directly enhanced capability within the Australian Army. He has been responsible for the implementation of a series of reforms, in particular the military justice reform, where he ensured deadlines were met and priority of effort was maintained in a continuously dynamic strategic environment. Despite COVID-19 restrictions, he made full use of the Exercise Talisman Sabre 2021 experience to ensure warfighting readiness. His efforts were validated by the performance of the 3rd Brigade during short notice deployments in support of the Kabul evacuation in 2021 and the Solomon Islands Security Assistance Force in 2022. Brigadier Fegan has championed combat behaviours and realistic training to raise the preparedness of his brigade, and his service has been in the finest tradition of our Defence Force. Brigadier Khalil Fegan, appointed a member of the Order. Appointed a member of the Order in the Military Division, Brigadier Craig Short. For exceptional service as Director General Land, Director General Career Management Army and Commander Special Forces Group. Brigadier Short has demonstrated superior service to our Defence Force throughout his more than 30-year career. As Director General Land and Career Management Army, he was key to enabling Army to rapidly support domestic contingencies in the Northern Territory, support Pacific Step-Up initiatives, and also the 21st Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast. Following the release of the Inspector General Australian Defence Forces Afghanistan Inquiry Report, he initiated a comprehensive modernisation of ethical training and established cultural reform through training opportunities for leaders within Special Operations Command. These achievements have ensured that Special Operations Command continues to transform while its warfighting capability remains ready and relevant. Brigadier Short's significant contributions have ensured the Australian Defence Force remains a trusted, credible and capable organisation. Brigadier Craig Short, appointed a member of the Order. Awarded the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Mr. Macaulay Cottrell, for service to veterans and their families. Mr. Cottrell has selflessly devoted many hours to Canberra legacy and has dedicated himself to the welfare of widows and children of veterans for more than 30 years. He has served in a range of executive positions, including as Chairman of Legacy Canberra, as Chair of the Functions Committee, and previously as Chair of the Fundraising Committee, where his achievements were outstanding. He was a founding member of the Royal Australian Air Force's Staff College Association and a long-standing member of the Tuggeranong Valley Returned and Services League sub-branch. Mr. Cottrell is an asset to the community organisations he serves, and he epitomises the values of giving back to others. Mr. Macaulay Cottrell awarded the Medal of the Order. Awarded the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Mrs. Diane Dowling and Dr. Peter Dowling, for service to community history. Mrs. and Dr. Dowling have worked tirelessly as volunteers and committee members of the National Trust of Australia, ACT branch, and the Canberra Archaeological Society for many years. Their efforts with the National Trust have contributed significantly to advancing its cause, both as a business and advocacy organisation. They have been involved in planning activities, administration matters, hosting of international tours to places of historical significance, and coordination of volunteers to promote the Trust's vision of bringing heritage to life for all generations. Similarly, they have undertaken with integrity and professionalism roles with the Canberra Archaeological and Canberra and District Historical Societies. Mrs. and Dr. Dowling have been stalwarts of the heritage community in Canberra and are most deserving of recognition today. Mrs. Diane Dowling and Dr. Peter Dowling awarded the Medal of the Order. Awarded the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Mrs. Fiona Godfrey, for service to primary and secondary education. Mrs. Godfrey's contribution to the education landscape in the Canberra region and beyond has been significant. She can be regarded as a prime example of an effective school principal, educator and administrator, and her leadership of Radford College since 2014 has been most noteworthy. She has also been energetic in her commitment to a range of education organisations, including the Association of Independent Schools of the ACT in New South Wales and the Anglican Schools Association. She is a great problem solver, showing strength to take on the difficult issues that schools face. Mrs. Godfrey is passionate about the role education plays in shaping our children and the potential to contribute to Australia's future. Mrs. Fiona Godfrey, awarded the Medal of the Order. Awarded the Bar to the Conspicuous Service Cross, Colonel John Papalitsis. For outstanding achievement as the Commanding Officer of the Northwest Mobile Force and as the inaugural Commander of the Regional Force Surveillance Group. Colonel Papalitsis joined the Australian Army in 1995 and has demonstrated distinguished leadership and innovation since that time. He has made a significant contribution to the delivery of regional force surveillance operations, Indigenous development programs, and border protection operations. He initiated the development of a regional training and education centre and has enhanced Army's contribution to closing the gap for Indigenous Australians, including the provision of enhanced pathways for First Nations soldiers. He has improved Regional Force Surveillance Group's contribution to border protection operations, and his liaison with other commands and border protection agencies has greatly improved the joint and interagency planning process. Colonel Papalitsis' leadership and professional ability reflect great credit upon himself and the nation's Army. Colonel John Papalitsis, awarded the Bar to the Conspicuous Service Cross. Awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross, Captain Anne Andrews. For outstanding achievement in the field of Navy Human Resource Management. Captain Andrews joined the Royal Australian Navy in 1987 and has undertaken key training and personnel roles, including in the Australian Defence Force Academy, the Navy People Training Centre Canberra, and within the Office of the Chief of Defence Force. In 2020, she transferred to the Maritime Human Resource Officer branch, where she managed highly sensitive cases and delivered outcomes that reflect the balance of Navy's objectives and compassionate human-centred decision-making. She is currently leading Navy's team that is providing input and support to the Defence Task Force for the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide. Captain Andrews' vision and resolve have contributed to shaping and informing Defence and Navy policies and practices for the betterment of serving and future personnel. Captain Anne Andrews, awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross. Awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal, Lieutenant Colonel Jacob Penley, for meritorious achievement as the Brigade Major of the 1st Brigade during 2020 and 2021. Lieutenant Colonel Penley displayed superior planning acumen to ensure the 1st Brigade achieved a diverse set of tasks while adapting to significant environmental challenges throughout 2020 and 2021. He managed a highly complex and demanding workload to rapidly respond to contingencies, including deploying over 2,800 people on domestic operations, as well as more than 1,100 personnel on offshore deployments. Additionally, he coordinated the preparation of 2,200 personnel as high readiness contingency force elements and worked tirelessly to adapt to constantly changing circumstances due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Lieutenant Colonel Penley also undertook a lead role in planning and executing exercise Coolandong 2021, a joint Australia-United States operation that strengthened our military alliance and cooperation. Lieutenant Colonel Jacob Penley awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal. Awarded the Public Service Medal, Ms. Chloe Burns, for outstanding public service in the development of statistical modelling and public health measures in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Ms. Burns, in her role as Assistant Director, Health Economics and Modelling Branch in the Department of Health, drove the initial development of statistical modelling to allow a better understanding of how COVID-19 might affect Australia and to inform public health response measures. Her unique skill set, combining econometrics and epidemiology, allowed the model she produced to quantify costs, benefits, and risks of various policy options. As the pandemic progressed, she led a team of consultants to develop modelling for the vaccine rollout, including a methodology and rationale for prioritising particular groups. Ms. Burns' achievements, in particular for the most vulnerable population groups, contributed significantly to Australia's low rates of infection and death during the government's initial response to the pandemic. Ms. Chloe Burns awarded the Public Service Medal. Awarded the Public Service Medal, Ms. Samantha Chard, for outstanding public service in establishing Australia's radioactive waste agency and identifying a suitable site for a permanent radioactive waste management facility. Ms. Chard is recognised as a champion of appropriate nuclear waste management. She conceived and established a dedicated agency to manage our radioactive waste and the delivery and operation of the first national radioactive waste management facility. Her innovative approach to project delivery and community engagement has built significant trust and a broad understanding of the need for a national solution. She was instrumental in providing stakeholders with relevant scientific and technical advice, and her efforts have resulted in the establishment of a cost-effective, safe and secure solution. Ms. Chard's achievements have secured significant developments in what has been a 40-year policy challenge for government. Ms. Samantha Chard awarded the Public Service Medal. Awarded the Public Service Medal, Mr. Javier Rebalta, for exceptional public service through leadership and coordination of Services Australia response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Rebalta's project management skills were fundamental to the design and delivery of the COVID-19 digital certificate. This was a significant achievement that gave people choice in how they demonstrated proof of vaccination. He and his team designed the digital certificate to be easily accessible via the MyGov app and online through Medicare online accounts, the Medicare mobile app, and via My Health Records. He played an important role in achieving core deliverables for Services Australia, including coordination and negotiation between federal, state and territory governments to develop a cohesive program to deliver functionality of the Australian Immunisation Register. Mr. Rebalta played a vital part in enabling the COVID-19 digital certificate to be seamlessly integrated into state and territory governments' check-in apps. Mr. Javier Rebalta awarded the Public Service Medal. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the presentations this afternoon. Thank you.
Well, we've acknowledged each of our recipients individually. I think it would be appropriate at the moment to acknowledge them as a group. So congratulations to you all. Well done. So to your homework. Particularly in the General Division. As you're aware, the Order has two divisions, the General Division for civilian population of Australia and the Military Division for our military members. Nominations are critical to the process. We've seen a small picture today, microcosm of what happens in the community. Historians, people who work out who work with our veterans. But you can imagine, you've seen it throughout your community, people who give CWAs to different organisations to work so tirelessly for their communities. They cannot be recognised. So many times when Linda and I visit into Australia, people say, oh, so-and-so should be recognised. I say, yes, nominate them. That's your homework. You know who these people are in your community. They cannot be recognised if they're not nominated. And Jeff will give you the nomination process. It's very simple, very easy to fill the forms in and so forth. But without them, we cannot start. And our system is not going to become a top-down system. This is your system. As I've said, we've addressed to a very large degree the imbalance in gender representation, work to be done in our Indigenous communities and with our multicultural communities, but that's underway. The order, each time that list comes out, the order should reflect who we are in Australia in 2023 or concurrently or contemporarily. In your hands. So please help us do that and ensure that we represent and respect the contribution that people have made to our country. So again, congratulations to all. Thank you again to the families and friends here with us today for the role you have played. Linda and I look forward to meeting you all as we break up after the formal part of the ceremony to celebrate our recipients this afternoon. Congratulations again. Well done.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, as mentioned, anyone can nominate a fellow Australian, and it's easy to do by accessing our online nomination form on the Governor-General's website. You never know, they may even receive an award at a ceremony similar to this in the future. I now invite today's recipients to join their Excellencies for photographs on the state entrance steps. please stand for the departure of Their Excellencies and the recipients. Thank you and good afternoon.